All right, I think we should get started. So the session will be recorded as well. I think Craig will later share the recordings with everyone at the end of the session. So don't panic if you have to dug out, for a couple of minutes or so. If you feel like you missed something, you can always come back and watch the recording later. Good morning, everyone. I'm Jane. I'm from Adobe. We've got someone here in the class. I've got 2 people here in the classroom, and we've got three people on the call. So the session is about Adobe Premiere Rush. So I'm going to go through around, what is Premiere Rush. But before that, I'm going to go through a little bit about taking video. Some of the basics about taking video that you might be interested, or you might know already. But see this as a recap if you already know already. We don't have a lot of people. If you've got any questions, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat pod. Craig actually will monitor the chat pod and respond to the questions. And for those of you in the class, just put your hand up and ask the question, and I will do my best to answer your questions. Okay, so let's get started. We'll have an hour and we've got a lot of content to get through. So, first, like I said, before we get into the tools, I want to go through a bit of the video production basics. So taking video, obviously, it's not just about the tools, post-production, making edits, but before that, there's a lot of things you should consider and plan. So we're going to go through the basics, about telling your stories, planning your shots, and so on and so forth. So making a video. So the point of making video often is about telling a story. So you need to be clear what message you want to come across to your audience. Think about who your audiences are. Is this a video you want to communicate your idea to a public audience, or maybe just a family video you're creating, for your family to view? Or think about what's your story before, that's very important. So what sort of shots you want and so on. And then before you do anything, planning your shots. Okay, so what's planning your shots? Think about your B-roll list. So anyone know what B-roll is? No? Okay, so A-roll, we'll say, when you're doing shooting, for example, I'm interviewing someone. So this person is my main subject, right? But then when he's talking about, like, for example, let's say he's talking about his holidays, but then on the B-roll is maybe the holiday footage. Or maybe it's the environment, it's the footage. So you give context of the story. So it's not the main subject, but it's actually provides context to your story. So that's what we call B-roll. So if I were taking a shot of this campus, my main focus may be this classroom, but then I will give you an overview of what the environment look like. What things like these are we call B-roll. So it's like background things. So normally you have a lot of B-roll shots, and you think about your shooting schedule. So usually I will say double the amount of time that you allocate for shooting your content for the first timer, but sometimes even more so, like 3 times, 4 times. You need to plan it because it's important. For example, if you want to shoot someone in a sunset, time, or sunrise time, then you want to plan it such that you take those shots first and before you move on. Otherwise, you'll miss the time and doing the right shots in the right day of time. So this planning is very, very important. And by making a planning is going to make your production much better and easier later on. So spend the time, don't rush. People immediately they do a video, they go, all right, get my camera ready, I'm ready to go. But don't do that. Just plan it first before you start doing it. It saves you a lot of time later. And then we think about framing. What is your primary focus? So if you look at the slide here, there's the grids here, shows a 9 square. Those each point on these grids, they actually are called PowerPoints. So the rules are usually rule of thirds, which is that if you have your subject where the thirds, the points are, that's usually when people look at a picture, that's where they actually naturally focus it on. Excuse me. Excuse me. Your iPhone, if you have an iPhone or your Android phone, your camera has a built-in setting to show you a grid. So when you do take a video with your phone, you can turn on the grid and to see your framing, make sure your framing is right. And if you do shoot in 4K, which is very high resolution, then you can actually edit. If you edit in HD, then you can actually have the scaling power later on to frame it correctly in the post-production environment. So, you know, you can enlarge or zoom in stuff without losing too much quality of your video take. So that's kind of, think about it, you know, when you do the shoot. And then how much should I shoot? So things to consider, obviously, is storage, because you don't have a lot of, if you do use your phone, there's not a lot of storage, right? And then normally I don't recommend you to shoot in 4K, because that just chews up your storage and chews up your battery real quick. So usually HD is good enough for normal shooting. So, and also think of post-production, because the time you realize when you're doing editing or post-production later, you realize that's the most time-consuming part, is to actually go through the footage you've took. So, for example, you know, if you take you're like, oh, I'm not sure, I'm just do everything, take everything. You know, you've come up with like 2 hours of footage for a 5-minute video. You have to go through these 2 hours of footage to actually find the 5 minute that you want, and that's just too much. So that's why the planning is important, and think about how much you should shoot. It's a fine balance between your planning your shots and make sure you don't shoot too much. That's important. And then think about the there's a few things you also, you know, you can consider is the frame size and frame rate. So frame size refers to how big your video is. So for example, iPhone offers 3 options. So option 1 is 1280 times 720 is the smallest, and then option 2 is Full HD, and option 3 is 4K, which is double the size of option 2. Like I said, you don't need a 4K normally. You know, these days there's equipment that can do 8K. I mean, honestly, I don't know how many of you have 8K TV at home, or you can tell the difference between a, you know, a 4K, 8K. There's no need to shoot such high resolution. The default option 2, is probably good enough for most of your scenarios. And then frame rate. So frame rate is basically how many frames you see in a second. And normally most films are 24 frames per second. However, action films or usually have a higher frame rate, and a high frame is also used to capture slow motion. So if you were doing if you wanted to slow down what you've captured, then you need a higher frame rate. And in iPhone, you can adjust your frame rate. Why is that? Because if you don't have a higher frame rate in slow motion, then your image, your video footage, it's going to look a bit clunky. Like it's going to be like it's not going to be smooth. So you need a higher frame rate to do slow motion. So that's what it, you know, things to consider, obviously, depending on what sort of video you want to take and what the purpose of the film, how you wanted to convey your story. And other things like, you know, shooting with stabilizer, you know, obviously when you shoot with your hands, make sure it's fairly steady. You don't have to be like a tripod, but you know, you don't want to be shaky like this. I've seen videos like my kid's school came out with a video. Oh my God, the teacher's hand was so shaky. 5 seconds in, I'm like, I'm getting a headache. Like quickly try to find where my kid is. Like that's it. I can't watch the whole thing. So steady hands is important. There's only so much you could do in post-production to stabilize your footage. If it's a little bit shaky, it's okay, but it's too shaky, there's not a lot you could do. That's why sometimes it might be worthwhile to invest into a stabilizer. So Gorilla Tripod is versatile and it's fairly cheap in terms compared to others. Obviously, you've got more, you know, money. You can buy something gimbal. Gimbal is really good. She'll give you the pans and the like sort of like a zoom type of like view, like how you shoot, and adds a lot of production value into your video as well. So gimbal is another thing that's very popular, especially with if you're using your mobile phone or your camera to do shooting. So just think about it. You know, you obviously don't really need it if you're just doing short videos. And then the lighting. So lighting is all important, like whether it's photography or filmography, it's all videography, it's very important. Think about the natural light. If you're doing shooting in a room, maybe you want to move the subject near the window, so to have a bit of a natural light. And also obviously there's a lot of options lights out there as well, portable lights, ring lights. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It's very popular these days for vloggers. If you're doing YouTube videos, like especially ones about, you know, makeup or showing a product recommendation, they use a ring light to make them look better. So that's lighting options. Obviously, you know, depends on what you're doing. So these are just things that is important. lastly, and not the least, is audio. For a film, if a film without sound, it's actually not very interesting, pretty boring, honestly. So audio is probably 50% of your video. I would say the importance of it. You can watch a black and white film, but a film without sound, it's gonna take a lot to tell the story. Even background music is good. It's also audio. I'm not saying you have to be dialogues, but even background music is gonna make your video better. So video. So we talk about audio. So mobile phone, if you're shooting, I'm shooting using my phone. If you are like a couple of meters away from me, if you start talking, that audio is not going to come through very clear. It's going to have a lot of background noises. It's not going to be sound very well. So the trick that I sometimes do is, if you work in a group, other people, you got second phone, you have a voice memo next to that person turned on to record the voice, and you shoot where you are. So you have two devices, and then you can sync them together later on. So you have a voice and the video to sync them in the post-production. However, if you do just a one, with your phone and no audio, no other outlet for the audio, then chances are you're going to have trouble. The sound's not going to sound good, and then there's not so much you could do in the post-production. There's only, like, if it's not too bad, you can something improve the audio, but there's only so much you could do as well. So audio is very important. So there's obviously external devices you can get, like the ones, in the image that the guy, they call lavaliers, I think, the wireless ones, or a microphone. Sometimes, we'll see if you do live stream, a lot of people have a microphone set up next to their computer to have that, good sound, because that's just like really, really important. But like I said, if you are talking an interview, you make sure you have something nearby to capture the audio that you can sync it later. So that's pretty much some of the basics of taking video. And then there's other things you could do with the camera exercise, like the how you push the cameras, dynamic shots, and then you think about your the pan, the left and right, the tilt from lower up and then up and down and so on. So a different camera movements is going to give you a bit of a different way of telling your story. So it's not just always like, straight on and move, but this, the orbit from going around this person and to the subject. And then you've got the tracking, you're following the people walking across the room. That's ways, and also the focus, pulling into focus, pulling something that's blurry into focus. You could do this actually through the Premiere Rush app. If you download, so Premiere Rush is a desktop app, but also is a mobile app as well. So you can actually, you can open up your Rush app, and you can actually take video from your app, and then have the function of pulling into focus there. So so that's just a few things to think about before you actually start doing the shooting. So I'm going to show you, and you can walk through, not just a demo, but feel free to follow along, and then on the thing. So let me think. All right, so I've got before I keep going, I'll stop here for a minute, just see if we've got any questions. No one? Anyone have questions on the in the meeting, in the chat board?
Yeah.
No? All right. Okay, everyone is good. So let's keep going. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you have,
what did you tell him?
Okay, let me just go. Yeah. So I'll open up my Premiere Rush. I might just change my display to duplicate, so it's easier for me to see it as well. All right. Okay. So when you first open a brush, you'll see all different types of projects that you've got. Always I've done a lot of, using my kids as a sample, doing videos for them, and some things I've done for other customers else. So all you got to do is just go create a new project. So Rush is pretty simple.
Because you've done some safety training.
Here you'll notice that there's something called sample media. So this is what you use today, because these media are shipped with
course,
the Adobe
all
Premiere Rush
students,
itself. So you can use it to create your, to everyone on the same page. So you can just click on sample media and these will show up. Basically, it's a footage of, this couple going on a holiday in Philippines. So if I want to know what this footage is like, I can actually hover over my mouse and you see the movement and you will actually scrub through this footage here before you select them. So the way to put them together is all you got to do is say, hey, look, I think this is the first one, and this one might go second, and this is third, and then I have the Dreamland, that's the audio and music as a background to be part of this video. So the sequence you select your footage is basically how you're stitching up your video. But it doesn't matter if you've, made a mistake, or if your sequence is not actually where you want it later on. All you got to do now is basically putting a project name. Let's say, I'm putting a holiday project name and I go create. So the moment I click create, Premiere Rush is going to stitch them together for me in the order that I select them, but you can always drag in them, move them around to a different sequence if you wanted to. So now I've got it here. And so if I go play, oh, you know what, I should, there's no sound here, Craig. On the thing. But it's okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna stop sharing a little bit and I'm gonna join and share my audio with probably I'll just share my audio on the thing, or let me see. I don't have a plug for this. That's okay. What I'll do is, that's okay. Let me just turn on the volume and I'm gonna go into I'm just gonna stop sharing for a minute and I'm gonna share again at the top here with my computer sound so you can hear me. Yep. All right, let's try this. See if we could.
Again. Sort of.
Maybe still in the Teams. Can you hear the audio of my computer? Let's try again.
Go to again. Sort of.
Yeah? No? Yes? Anyone? No response? All good? No?
Yep, we can hear it.
Okay, awesome. Right. So you see it's being already stitched up. And on the left-hand side is, it's basically you can add more media. So for example, you've put it in and you notice, oh, I missed the footage, I missed the image. Then you can actually click here, your media, and go to the media browser and go find your own footages or add additional media that you want. And the other thing you could do is add audio or voiceover or graphics. I'll show you that in a minute. And then the second one is basically every asset you've put it into this video will show up here. So sometimes you might want to reuse them. So you might have this footage at the beginning and you want to have it again. So you can actually add them to your footage again if you wanted to. So this is basically, we call it project asset. So everything that if you add in the video, it's in here. And then you've got obviously the, if I was expand them out, you've got the cut. You can split your footage, you can duplicate, and you can delete. And normally, most things, what I do is when I go through this, I'll be like, all right, this is a bit long. Maybe I want to trim it. So all I got to do is hover over my mouse over the footage, the end, and then you can just trim it like this. Very, very simple to where you want it to stop. Okay.
We're gonna go to again.
So this is the and you see the layers. You've got the video layer, and I could actually put the layer on top of here as well. So when she's talking about, guess where we're going again, the Philippines, and
Guess what we're gonna go to again.
the footage of the boat. Maybe I'll shrink the boat, and so.
Guess what we're gonna go to again.
So this will give you, that's how people do video editing, is have the layers. So when this person talking, it doesn't have to be, always this person talking frame, but you can have other footage on top of it. The rule usually is they say, no more than 7 seconds on the same subject, you have to switch something else and come back, even though that subject is talking for like a few minutes. Does that make sense? Yeah. Great. And then on the right hand side, so for any film, you know, what I do, making it look better, usually you might want to have a title. So on the right hand side is all the things you could do on this video footage. So for example, I've got graphics. So graphics is something, you know, if you click on it, it's going to bring you to, oh, it's actually the same as this one, graphics here. Like you can actually add titles to this. So this is what we call it motion graphics. I'll just click on titles, and then I might wanted to add a title here. So I might put a title there. You can just drag and drop. It's just loading now. Hopefully it loads. It's stuck a little bit. Oh, it's loading. Done. Great. So I can actually add a title just by simply drag and drop. So there's built-in titles in Premiere Rush. So you can just drag and drop. And what you could do is you can double click on the title and you can change the title to, you know, what you want it. And in fact, if I, you know, have on the right-hand side, the holidays, you can see you can change the font as well. So you can change the whole font. I have to highlight this, and then I can change the font to, you know, what I want it to have. So for example, maybe something like this. And then, you know, if I don't want, I can just remove it. And then in here, I can also change the colors, the text colors. So these are what we call it motion graphics that you can, even though everyone has the same access to it, but you can make it your own by simply changing the colors, the text, the fonts, and so on. And what also you can do is by, once you select them, you can actually, if you click on the bottom to transform, you can actually, oh, let me just select them. You can actually move them around. So if I click this, I might move them left and then move down a little bit here. So there's all the things you could do, or you can change the width or the to make it smaller if you wanted to as well. So there's all the things you could do to make titles. And some people might use it for like subtitles. You know, you can put it underneath and even credits at the end. So there's a lot of different types of motion graphics that you could add to your video to make to pop, basically, to make it look professional. These are the, you know, all the ones that you could, that comes, a lot of them comes with the the application. So, you know, for example, I could just add, you know, things in front of this as well. So you might have the title at the front rather than an overlay on top of the video, but you can add things at the front as well, and you can change it to, you know, however you want. So let me just drag this music. So if I have this, then you see this will look something like that. Let me just play it. Why? There you go. That's a fancy title that does the motions there. So these are the things that you could do. And the other one is transition. So what's transition? Transition is basically from one footage to another. So if I look at here between these two footage, the transition is pretty abrupt, you know, from this to this. So what I could do is there's different transitions being built in. You can say, let's say I want to do a dissolve. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll change the duration a bit longer so you can see a difference. Now if I apply this,
Again.
the dissolve effect, so I can change it to swipe right. That may be more obvious.
Again.
That's going to add a lot of, you know, value to your production as well. Obviously, I don't want you to use all the different transitions throughout the whole film because it's going to look bit, you know, chaotic. Not, consistency is key. So you want to make sure either they're very similar or you actually, the transition means something, you know, is purposefully done that way. It's not just, you know, random thoughts almost. So this, and then the good thing about the dissolve transition, what you could do is you can add dissolve transition onto the audio. So the audio at the end is a bit long, so I'm going to shrink down to align with the footage. So when I play this now, So you see the audio obviously just finishes abruptly. So what I could do is I could add a dissolve transition to the end of the music. So what is that going to do to the music is that if I, scroll up a little bit more, is that it's going to fade out gradually rather than just stop abruptly. So transition not only works on the footage, but also the dissolve, specific dissolve transition also works on the audio. So if I play it now, you can hear the volumes going, like fading, the music is fading into the background. So that's the transition, and there's the pan and zoom and auto frame. So what are these? Okay, so pan and zoom is basically, for example, I want to add a media. Let's say I've got a media that's, let me have a look if I've got something. Maybe this one. Let's say I want to, let's like a static image onto at the end as part of my footage. So your video doesn't have to be all moving. It can be static image as well. So when I put this photo in here, that's nothing, basically just, as is. But you can apply pan and zoom into this static image. What you could do now, see, and it's going to do that pan and zoom effect for you in the video. So making your static image look more than it's just static, looks a bit, it's like a moving thing as well. And the other thing is this auto frame. So what's auto frame? So you can see this boat obviously is going right in the water. And this is a horizontal video. But if I want to post it up onto my social media, I might change the frame into, for example, vertical. So if I did that, the head of the boat is going to go out of the frame, right? Because I can change the size of the frame itself. So what I'm going to do, normally in Premiere Pro, you can actually manually making the straighten up the boat head, trying to make a frame. So now you can actually click on auto frame, and the AI is going to do the job for you. So what AI did is like it knows, hey, this is the center, this is the subject of the video. So with that, it's going to keep the boat head inside of the frame. So that's what auto frame does. Hope that makes sense. It's pretty cool because if you imagine, for example, you're shooting video, someone running, right? And you follow that person run. And then when you're doing editing, we like made it horizontal to vertical, and this person is not in the frame anymore. It's like, okay, I'm not just shooting blank space. So the auto frame is going to help you to adjust it. So you still have that person, the subject, inside the frame. That's what's useful about it. So I'm going to turn back to 16:9. Because one thing about a tip I'll share with you is that normally when we have our phone, we're very likely to, you take photos vertically or do a video vertically, and that's basically a habit that we do. I will recommend that you actually shoot your video in a horizontal manner, because a lot of devices, like if you want to show on TV, on computer, it just gives you a bit more options. And otherwise, if you shoot it vertically, you're gonna have two black lines basically on your wider screen. But if you shoot horizontally, it's easier to shrink, to adjust it to be vertical, because you just got much more real estate. If you shoot vertically, you don't have much real estate horizontally, if that makes sense. So if you were to do, video shooting, ideally you wanted to do it horizontally. And there's a lot of debate about it, because people say, oh, look, these days everyone's on the phone, everyone, on social media, who cares about the horizontal aspect of it? But, if you think about if you want to upload to YouTube, if you want to do these things, still horizontal give you a bit more options. Just keep that in mind. So other things you could do is obviously the color. It's like almost they've got presets being built into Rush. So if you use Instagram, there's Instagram filters. This is almost treats like Instagram filters. So you can apply different filters onto your video to make them look different, to provide the sense that you want to provide. Maybe a film, maybe flat and cinematic, a lot darker. Or, what you could do is you could do your own. So you can sometimes I might pick one, like say this one, and then I might do edit. I might actually build my own presets. So what I could do, I can adjust the contrast, the temperature, the vibrance of the video. So you can actually adjust the colors and the brightness of your video. One tip also is that, make sure you probably use that preset across your whole entire video. So you don't want them to look too different. Obviously, if your story is, for example, if your part of story is in black and white and part of a story in colors, then that's fine. But otherwise, once again, consistency is important. So these are the colors, and the other one is very interesting to play with is the speed. So this is one I use a lot. Is basically this boat is going around, and I want it to go a lot faster. So for example, I can increase the speed by 300%, and if I were to play it, you'll see the boat is going a lot quicker. Or I could slow it down by like let's say 40% here, and the boat is going a lot slower, and I give you a bit of slow motion. So remember, if you were to slow it down, you want to have a higher frame rate. Okay, or you can ramp it up as well. You can do the ramp. So there's a few things you can do, what kind of speed, and that's a very popular, because if you think about it, TikTok is very popular these days, and that only allow like a couple of 60 seconds or 3-minute videos. So you want it to be, if you're doing a lot of content, a lot of things, you might want to speed it up. So this is one of these things I find very useful in video editing is the speed. Okay. So before I carry on, let's see if I've got any questions in the chat pod. Do you have any questions, Craig?
Not at the moment. Sandy sort of said, great demo, Jane.
Oh, thank you, Sandy.
So other than that, it's quiet in the chat pod at the moment.
Are they falling asleep? Is everyone falling asleep? Is that what it is?
I think that they might be like Andy here, sort of doing it in the background and actually, playing around with it and sort of seeing some of these really cool things that you do.
Is it fun? It's easy to use, right? Yeah, it's great.
So actually, we've got a couple of questions that come in.
Yeah.
So we've just prompted them to go, ooh.
Yeah, great.
So Annette's asked, can you show me how you move the titles around the page?
Oh, okay, yep. So I have a title here. So I can move around by clicking on it, like moving my mouse, okay? Or I can go to the transform, the crop and rotate icon on the right-hand side. So you see, when I move my mouse over, hover it over it, you'll see the inbuilt tutorial shows you what to do, okay? And there's it says Control-6, but you can also use the bars to do that. So you could do that not only on the titles, but also on the footages. So what that means is, for example, if I have this footage on top of here, and then what I want to do is I want to move this, not this one here, to the right-hand side, and then this one to the left-hand side, then I can have two videos going in parallel at the same time. So for example, something like right? What I can do is I can change back this to normal, and then I could make this, let's say, change the width of it. So it's like a picture in picture. You can have that as well in your video. So different flavor. You know how sometimes you read news and there's the presenter is talking, and then you have the picture at the bottom showing you what's happening. So you can do that as well. So with the transform, so you can, and the layers, of course. You could do that, and then you can, so if I play it, obviously where he's going is showing on the screen. So that will help you to, spice up your video a little bit, I would say. Something different, something like, wow, okay, you're good, you know what you're doing, but it's just so easy to do actually. Yeah,
that's pretty cool there to do the Jane. And Tracy has also asked, what if you want to incorporate the voiceover when you reduce the sound of the background music and include a voiceover?
Yes, I'm going to get to that in a minute. Good question. So before I get to that, I want to show you this bit here. So I've gone through majority of the effects on the right-hand side, but there's another one here is very cool. It's called audio. So as you can see is when this person's talking, or this
Guess what we're gonna go do again?
so it's clashing with each other, right? So you don't know, like sometimes you just want to say when this person talking, I want the background music to be lowered or to be faded softer. So in my background music is you'll see you can see this music types here. It's called music, which is correct because when you first have this footage scene drag into created, the AI in Adobe Rush recognizes to say, hey, this is a voice. Okay, so this is a voice. This audio is a voice. If it's not picked up voice, if the voice is very fainted, you can help it out to say this is a voice. Once you've done that, what you could do is you can in this music click on it, something called auto duck. So what auto duck does is basically you'll see the little dark green here is saying that the moment there is a voice on top of the music, lower the music. And you can reduce the music. You can define how much music is reduced by. So for example, now if I were to play it, so let me have a look.
Good morning, Philippines.
Guess what we're gonna go do again?
Sound clearer than it used to be because it used to be had background music to it. So similarly, if you were to add a voiceover, you can just add here and then call it voiceover. So you can add a voiceover, but there will be a little icon here to say tap to record. So the moment I tap this and I can record my voice into it. I won't do that because I don't like listening to my own voice. I don't actually go back to watch these videos, like recordings. Honestly, I'm gonna freak out. Like I will never want to get recorded again. So I don't do that. So you can tap and you can record. This will give you the voice voiceover here. Okay, so that's what I will do. And then so in here, and you would also notice if I click on any of this footage, it's going to give me options such as, okay, reduce background noise, reduce echo, or enhance speech. Okay, like I said, if your audio, when you record your video, your audio is not very clear, you can do some of these things to make it better. But there's only so much you could do. So if it's really bad audio, it's still going to sound bad. Okay, so you wanted to make sure when the audio comes through, it's still fairly clear. Okay, it doesn't have to be 100%, doesn't have to be microphone, quality, but it needs to be at least clear such that when people watch your video, they can understand what you're saying in the video itself. Obviously, there's there's a left channel, right channel. So these are things you can do. Also, you can mute the video, mute the audio sound as well. So for example, if that boat there, it's creating too much sound for me, I'm just going to mute it because it doesn't matter. I don't need the water sound. I can just mute this whole vid and the sound out. Or maybe you have a one layer, you want to mute the whole sound out. You can just click on it and do that as well. So it's really, really simple. Obviously you can hide as well and you can lock it so you can't edit anymore. The layers is important because that's how you have pictures in pictures or do fancy things. I think Premiere Rush is a limit of probably 4 video layers and 3 audio layers that's allowed. Okay, and that's usually more than enough for you to actually build a, any like pretty good video already. Unless you're doing, feature film, I don't know, like Hollywood style thing that you probably might want to go do the next door, the Premiere Pro class. But for your everyday, your project that you're doing in TAFE or your, things, you can just use that. And the best practice is what I found the best way to learn is to do it, right? And even, have a project for yourself. So sometimes what I do is maybe if I'm going on a holiday or long weekend or birthday parties for my kids or whatever, I do a lot of videos and then I put them together. And during that process, I learn a lot. I learn how important it is to plan because I've got so much footage that I can never get through and then my video never gets made because I just don't have the time and the will to go through these footages. I don't know about you, but yeah, I still have like a few years ago, I've got this footage that went to Singapore. I'm like, I'm not going to look at it. It's just hours and hours of footage. Never mind, it's just too much. So plan it. Don't shoot too much. That's once again another thing I'm highly recommend. So if you've seen this and you've obviously seen things that you can change the aspects of the video, horizontally video or 405 and so on, depends on where you want to upload it to, how you want to updates and stuff. So what you could do, and once you've done your video, obviously, this is far from being done, but you could actually click on the button share. So when you share, there's a few things you could do. If once by default, it can save it locally, so save it onto your desktop, okay. Or if you are editing on your mobile phone or on your tablets, it will save it to your camera roll. And the other one, if you do have a YouTube account, you can actually click on YouTube account and can sign in through this interface, and then upload. Well, it automatically upload video to it. And in fact, advanced settings here, it will shows you what's the YouTube, settings that you want to use to output this video, or Facebook or Instagram or Behance. So Behance is Adobe's creative platform, or a platform for all the creatives to upload their work. So people get jobs from there. Like a lot of people looking for, graphic designers or videographers, they look at Behance, find who, has the best work portfolio. So people usually upload their portfolio to the Behance platform. So any other social media platforms, I think they probably need one for TikTok sooner or later. But most of my majority the time, what I do is I probably just save it, name it, to holiday and save it into my local drive. That's usually what I do. And other thing is that, like I said, Adobe Rush is available on desktop, right? Your Mac, your PC, but also it's available on your mobile devices. So if I were to, so sometimes what I do is a tip for you is when I do my video on my phone, right? I just use the normal camera. I could use the Rush camera, but I always find using the Rush camera sometimes chews out the battery a little quicker than the built-in camera. So I will use my camera to do it. And then rather than me trying to, especially I have a PC and I've got an iPhone, it's not exactly easy to transfer file from one to the other. So what I do is I will actually open up my Rush on my mobile phone. I will add the footage into my Rush through my phone, and then let it to build the sequence first, and then they save it. And then later, later, depends how big your file is, just later when I, remember, I come to my desktop, your file will show up on your desktop already. So there's no transfer, because Rush, the files actually saved in the cloud. And then when your phone has a Wi-Fi access, it will automatically sync it. So when you come to your desktop, your file will be there. So if I go to the projects that I have now, so the project I have, you see the little icons, the little PC, little cloud, that just shows that, you can turn it off, but it shows that this is on this here. And then all the ones that's cloud is basically this is in the cloud. It's actually available on my mobile, available on my iPad, available on my PC. So the moment I open a Rush, it will be there. So other thing you know is that if you do that on your phone, okay, don't expect the moment you add it in, it's going to show up on your desktop, because it is a video file. It is going to take a bit of time to sync, especially sometimes I turn off sync, like the settings you can set such that don't sync if I'm on my 4G, on my mobile data. Okay, only sync if I'm on my Wi-Fi. So if you're at home, you got your Wi-Fi on, then it will start syncing. Because I don't know about you, but these days data plans are pretty cheap. Sometimes you get unlimited, which is fine. But if you're on a data plan that has limitation, let's say, I don't know, what's the normal gigabyte? Maybe let's say 300 gigabyte a month or whatever. A video file could easily be 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 gig, like can be quite big normally. So you don't want to do that, and depending on how long it is. If you've added like an hour worth of video on your phone Rush, don't, even an hour later, it's probably not going to show up. It's going to take a bit of time. So let it through. But, a few minute video, it's pretty quick. So that's the things. And then also, in here, in what's good about Rush is the learn button. So every application of ours has learn buttons. It will bring you to tutorials that we have online. These tutorials you'll see, it's like 3, 4, 5 minutes. It's like really short, simple, bits that you want to do. Like, I want to do, customize my title, just watch this for 4 minutes. So it's not like what I'm doing now. I'm spending an hour with you, which, you probably find a bit boring at the end. By the end of it, you probably got distracted, procrastinated, you probably checked your phone 10 times already. You probably have a browser open at the back end, to browsing through things. But these tutorials are really, really good. If you missed anything and you wanted to go back and then learn about it. So that's pretty much it I want to show you today. And then I'm open for questions.
A few more questions.
Yeah.
So Layla's asked, is Adobe Premiere Rush only to edit and create videos?
Yes. What else would you like it to do? Just curious.
I answered that with that. It's also let you do social media and full projects if you think
Yes.
that way.
Yes.
So it has that capability. And Annette made a comment that they won't let us use TikTok at social media within TAFE at the moment. I keep on asking.
Right. Okay.
But-
that I can't help you. But
Yeah. She also asked about how do you get Rush on your phones, and
so if you are on iPhone, you go to Apple Store and then you search Adobe Rush or Premiere Rush. It should show up. And then you'll be downloaded, and then you just log in with your TAFE credentials and it will activate the software for you like you would on your desktop. Similarly, with your Android phones, you go to Google Play Store and you search the same thing and it will show up and you can download it. Yeah.
Annette, I just asked, is it for free as well from the download?
Yes, it's free. So everyone has a license. So you just log in with your TAFE credentials, like you've logged in on your desktop. So you log in like school or company account, I think, and they'll bring you to a single sign-on of TAFE. You just log in, it will activate it. If you don't have the Creative Cloud license, Adobe Rush is still free, but it's feature limited and such that you can only, I think, do 1 or 2 projects. You cannot have multiple projects. And then there's few maybe little bits that's probably restricted. Yeah.
And Annette said thanks for that. She's on her way to the App Store right now.
Yeah.
And Tracy's asked, is Adobe Rush included in the Adobe Creative Cloud for staff or staff and students?
Yes. So Adobe Rush is included in all your Creative Cloud subscription. If you got Creative Cloud subscription, you have access to it. So Creative Cloud, I don't know why, but I can't open up my. It shows I don't have internet somehow in the in this. But if you got Creative Cloud desktop app, you can go have a look all the apps that's included in the Creative Cloud subscription. There's like 20, 30 applications. They're all included. There's no extra cost for you. All the mobile is included as well. So there's a lot of mobile applications there.
Yeah, so within TAFE, we have the software center that
Yeah.
controls our Creative Cloud. So
Yeah.
For the staff, it would be go to the software center
Yeah.
and download the latest one that we've got provisioned.
Yeah.
For the students, if you're going at home and logging in there, then you can download the whole.
Yeah. So usually if your devices is provided by TAFE, sometimes it's restricted because they don't let you install new software yourself. However, with your license, your login, you are able to activate every single application that comes in the Creative Cloud. So if you have a different device, that your home device or your home, your own app, your mobile phone or your own iPad, you could download them and you could activate them with the logins. You can actually use them, even though you feel like, oh, how come I don't have access on my work devices that provided by TAFE? But you will have access. You have access just because the lockdown of the policy of the laptop, not the software. Yeah. I think that yes. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what sort of format?
Okay, so the question is, the static images that we can import to this video, what sort of format does it support? So it supports majority of the photo format, JPEG, PNG, what else is there? GIF, yeah, all the image format pretty much supports it. So you can just import those in. So, one of the things that I did for another a customer of ours, the Earth Day one, they basically give me like 100 images and they wanted to do like a video show of this 100 images. So, before you might put in a PowerPoint and but they wanted to use a video format so you can kind of keep repeating it. So I just put it all in the Premiere Rush and then just stitch them up together with the nice transitions, and then it's just like a video. So this is like the the thing, it's all static images. There's no video in this, and it just with the background music. So if you want to do something like this, you can also use Premiere Rush for it. It's pretty simple. So all I did was, you know, has a sound and then has the transitions. It's like a slideshow, but it's a video. So you could do that as well. And these images are all just photos taken by their phone. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
On the video, can actually take another step from that video and say,
Oh, when the video is going,
that's the outcome. That's the one that.
you can do that in iPhone, I believe. In a video, you can take one of the frames is a image and use that image in it. Actually, in fact, I just forgot something to show you. It's not video, but about the music. So one of the things you notice is audio. There's an audio option here. So now, because like I said, audio is important, even background music. Sometimes you do video, sometimes just music, no dialogue. Okay. You don't want to use the stuff that's on like pop music or songs because they have copyright issues, patent issues. You want to use royalty-free music. So Adobe, we have actually royalty-free music now built into integrated with Adobe Rush. So I can go to soundtracks. So all the music here are actually royalty-free. Before, I have to go to some specific websites such as bandsound.com to download royalty-free music, or there's another one called can't remember what it's called. It's like, anyway, doesn't matter because you got ones that's integrate now. That's all royalty-free. Not only soundtracks but sound effects. So if you want an animal, like I don't know, maybe not eating, maybe bear raw, like in your video, you can have you don't have to do it yourself. I don't think you can find a bear anywhere nearby to give you that sound, but you can actually use those. You can search, right? Not just if I search like dog barking or something like that, and then I can actually, these are for you to use in your video, all right? To make your video interesting if you're doing a dog barking video, I don't know. So these are all the sound effects that's now available. Even like, I think there might be like raindrops and stuff like that. I don't know. There might be a truck on a rainy, I don't know what that is. Or maybe this one, light rain. That. So all the stuff now is part of the Adobe Brush because we're partnered up with one of the providers of the royalty-free music and sound. So you got loops as well. So that's important because 9 out of 10 times I think majority of videos probably just have music background and the video the foreground to just tell a story. And obviously even with the dialogues, if you go watch a show now, a movie or a series, you'll notice there's always going to be background music there. Even if someone's talking, even though it's very light, like very faded, soft, but there is. Because if there's no sound in the background, it's going to sound funny. You'll notice the silence. Unless it's a horror movie, obviously you don't have the background music. That's going to make a horror movie a comedy, I think. But majority of the time you'll hear some sort of white noise or sound in it. So your question was again, remind me. Oh, the video. So okay, you can't do it inside Rush, but you can, like for example here, if I want a picture of this, I'll just do a screenshot and save the JPEG and I put it in again. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's no function to do I wanted this frame, take this frame out. That function exists on your iPhone camera, like camera roll. If there's a video, you can actually pause somewhere and then use that bit as a frame. That frame is a picture. But in this case, if I really want it, I just take a screenshot and then put it in back in. Any other questions?
How do you get the grid lines on your phone you showed at this one?
Right, okay. So if you go your camera roll, what phone do you have?
That was from the net.
So if you're taking video, Let me have a look.
And Layla's downloading Rush as well right now as well on her set.
Awesome. Yay. Okay, let me have a look.
So Annette's got both. She's got an iPhone and an Android.
Okay. So let me have a look. I actually can't remember, honestly. I'm sure there is. I just have to find it somewhere. There is the grid sitting. Where's my grid sitting? This is not it. Let me have a look. There should be. Yeah, I can't see it actually. You're right. In the video, there used to. All right, if it doesn't have it, I recommend you to download Rush and you open your Rush app and it will be there.
Yeah. So Annette just said that she's a brand newbie to her iPhone user and still figuring it out. So she must be the last person on the planet to get one.
No, I don't think so. There's a lot of people love, like the as you either stick with Android or you stick with iPhone. It's just like we used to. Like I don't know how to work a Android phone, and then I know people that just doesn't like iPhone because it's so close. Like I said, transfer file is such a pain, especially to have a PC. Right. So let me have a look. Take a video. Yeah. So by in Rush, if you just take a video, the grid is there already. I might even Google and see how to turn I'm sure they had a grid iPhone camera. I'm pretty sure there is one. Maybe it's, I think maybe in the settings. I'm sure it has. Yeah, okay, in settings. All right. If you go to settings, go to your camera. Maybe I'll just search my camera. No. Okay, camera. There you go. Grid. There you go. In the settings, camera, there's a composition called grid. You can turn that grid on. I knew it's there. And there's also the format you can see is record video, 30 frame, like 30 frame per second or 60, or you got 4K, which is 24 frame, or record slow motion at 240 frame per second. So, and like I said, slow motion is a lot high frame, right? So that's got it for you already, and you've got the grid, and that's it, I think.
Yep, and Annette's found it, and she said thanks for that.
Yeah.
And Layla's just asked, can you log into your TAFE login on the mobile as well as on the same with your computer?
Yes, you can. So mobile is fine. So the license, how it works is basically you can log in 2 devices in parallel. So, but mobile is not part of one device. It doesn't count. Okay. So for example, your TAFE device and your home device, you got 2. Once you log into a 3rd device, which you can, if you have another device, at home, you log in, it will log you out from the 1st device that you logged in. So you just have to come back and log in again. So it doesn't stop you. You can log in as many devices you want. It's just in parallel, it's only 2 will be activated at the same time. And the first one will get kicked out. You just come back and log in again. Yeah. And that's it.
That was cool. Actually, have we? So
Okay,
those now going on here, the next stream will start at 11:40, and so we've got the productivity challenge in Acrobat DC with Jane, or we've got exquisite design using InDesign with Steve. And Annette just said, thanks for a fantastic session. Thanks so much. Layla said the same thing. Thanks for Craig and Jane. Tracy said, thanks, awesome. Look out for her expert films.
Yeah, can't wait. And all right, I hope you guys learned something today. And
We'll look out come through its Facebook page. Adam said the talk. He's a Premiere Pro user, but now this has made it so much easier.
Yeah. So if you have done the stuff you want to do in Rush, usually a lot of things, 80%. If you've got things that you really want to have, for example, green screen, okay, or you know that sort of stuff, you can go to Premiere Rush and open up a Premiere Rush project. But having said that, it's a one-way street, okay? So if you open up a Premiere Rush project in Premiere Pro and you made edits in Premiere Pro, you won't be able to open up the same project in Premiere Rush again, if that makes sense. So what I used to do is I make a copy of it, duplicate it, and then open up one of the copies in Premiere Rush to do what I want to do, just in case I want to come back, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Bye, everyone. See you later.